of Kevin Durant's unicorn ability on the basketball court. I don't want to see it. I don't want to see it because of how other people will then define his legacy by that, right? Now, going there the first time, I wouldn't have recommended it, but in his reasoning, it was because of basketball. I actually understood that from a basketball IQ perspective because the way Golden State plays with how you can, their continuity in which they play off with Steph and with Clay and Draymond is really a beautiful thing. It's the way basketball should be played, right? So I get that. You go there, you win 2 world championships, you get 2 finals MVPs. But Freddie, you go to Brooklyn, it blows up the way it's blowing up now currently. Kyrie Irving is trying to get to LA to play with LeBron James, but he was just playing with you because of a deal. So even though we know the nuances of that didn't work out deal-wise, it still just looks bad, right? He's leaving Kevin Durant to go back to LeBron James.
Right.
So it makes you question that and who was leading and who was taking charge of that relationship.
Sure.
Even though this may not be true, that's where you start going with it, right? And then on top of that, the Golden State Warriors just won a damn championship.
We've seen this before.
And you got people out here talking. Key was like, Key straight up asked me, so what's really the difference between Harrison Barnes and, and Wiggins and KD? He's like, they all got you chips, right? And I was like, Key.
Yeah.
Key. And we talk about the details, right?
Sure.
KD's very different. And he wasn't saying that. He knows KD's different, right?
Key's not busting chops. Who knew?
It all led to championships. So then people started running with that narrative. I'm like, see, y'all ain't going to do that. I ain't going to allow y'all to do that.
Right.
But
However,
if he were to find a way to go back after so you came here and then you won and you decided to do it, but you can't do it without Steph. You can't do it without Clay or Dre. And now after you saw them win, now you're going to run back with your tail between your legs. Even though we know it's not the case, people will make it out to be that way.
Yes.
And I would hate that for him individually. I would hate it for him.
Here's why you hate it for him. And I'm not trying to speak for another man, but I'm about to speak for another man.
I wouldn't let that deal go through.
Well, I believe it's not going to happen anyway.
I'm like, I'll stay here in Brooklyn. I'm not going back.
But we'll put it this way. If you decide to do something like that, then you really give credence to what people have been saying about you, that you want to be a follower and you don't want to be a leader. So from that standpoint, I'm with you. I wouldn't want to see that for Kevin Durant. But something that you just said really struck me funny about this whole thing, why you don't want to see it. And here's why. Because you care a lot more for Kevin Durant's legacy as much as he does. The difference is when you're speaking out for him, he strikes back at people without receipts. And there are plenty of times that people say, see, that's why. That's why we say those things about you. And that's not to say that being thin-skinned is a problem. Hey, I don't walk in Kevin Durant's shoes. I don't know how he's supposed to feel. He can only determine that. But I know people kept clapping back at me that way, especially guys that I respected, that I grew up watching, wanting to be a basketball player. Yeah, it's going to hurt me to my soul. Say, why you keep criticizing me? But you can't keep giving people reasons. And you can't keep giving people enough evidence to say, this is why we say these things. So I understand, Jay, why you want that for Kevin Durant, because you dealt with it. You're sick and tired of people clapping at you when you're trying to do the right thing. To me, Kevin Durant tries to do the right thing. To me, he just goes about it in the wrong way when it comes to his basketball career and his legacy.
And here's the problem, though, Freddie, is that now that you're signed to this 4-year deal, again, and once again, I stated this in the first hour, I am all about player empowerment. Watching what LeBron James has been able to do at multiple franchises, even though it gets difficult, still the success rate is pretty high.
Absolutely.
Even though right now, they're in a little bit of a quell and people are starting oh, look what happens. Fine, they won your championship 2.5 years ago. I get what have you done for me lately. But I'm looking at the KD situation with Kyrie and I'm saying, man, I wish that there was a way that KD could find a team like a Portland where Dame, who is, granted, when he's not injured, but you know what you're going to get all the time.
Oaktown,
you know what time it is all the time. And there's also a part of me as, somebody that, as I've been around owners, I've talked to presidents of teams, I've thought about going down that direction in my life. There are certain junctures where it's like, yo, man, at the same time, I know you gave me a list of teams you want to go to. I don't have to move you anywhere. And I need you to know what time it is. I know how powerful you are. And if this goes to arbitration, then so be it. But just because you want to be moved because it didn't work out for what you needed us to do for your teammate,
Yeah.
I'm doing what's in the best interest of my franchise. And for me, unless I get a haul back, unless I'm getting 6, 7 first-round picks, I'm getting 2 all-star caliber players, some assortment that looks like that, that is a package bigger than what Minnesota, gave up for Rudy Gobert, you're not going anywhere, man. You're going to be right here. You're going to be a Brooklyn Net until we get the right opportunity. And if we don't, then we're going to have to manage that. And I'm going to challenge you to see how professional are you truly when it comes to, I know how professional you are to basketball, to the game of basketball, but the business of basketball, now I'm going to challenge you to